Welcome to the Lift Oneself podcast.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is my audio clear? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Crystal clear. Crystal clear. I'm going to re-say that just so that we have a proper audio. Okay. I know we're going to be... I just...
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those. We're going to be two children playing around in here today. Welcome to the Lift Oneself podcast, Mikey. I really appreciate you being here with me.
I appreciate you having me here with you.
What can you thank COVID for?
Yeah. I heard that question asked. I think I was listening to one of your podcasts and I heard that question asked and I was like, give to me. Good Lord. But then I thought, you know what? No, it's given so much. And the danger is the people who come out on the other side of this without understanding the amount of gifts that it's given and are only so focused on the stuff that it's taken away that they're going to lose a wonderful opportunity. So the easy answer to that is it's given me focus. It's given me an environment to connect deeply with my family because not that we're forced, because there's always the options to still avoid each other and go into separate rooms or to hide out outside in the back or whatever the case is. But it's put us in a situation where it was like a sink or swim, and blessedly, we all chose to swim. And it's been a wonderful experience being able to spend an abundance of quality time with each other and learning about each other and understanding each other. So it's like a boot camp, family boot camp. And we're one of the fortunate families that are coming out on top with it. So it's given me a stronger family. It's given me focus. It's given me time to re-examine how I approach things and how I deal with things and how I view things, and understanding that as much as we can fill ourselves with quotes and cliche sayings, understanding that there really are some things that we put energy into that aren't important. And I've made a list and I reorganized my priorities in life so that some of the things didn't get the energy they were getting before. So
those quotes and sayings, it's all great intellectually and things that we can say we know, yet applying it in the direct experiences when you're live and you're feeling and things are going on, what a different thing it is.
Yeah.
Yet when you apply the practices, wow, what a different experience you can have. And you're better for it. That is what that inner work that people speak about, the work. What is this thing? And it's like, you can talk all the things, you can intake all the things, you can think you know a lot of things, yet until you apply things within your own direct experience, you come to have an inner knowing, which you didn't even know there was that kind of dimension. So thank you for really reflecting and sharing that openly and honestly.
And because people can't see, this is audio only and not video, I was doing the super head nods to what you were just saying. You know, it's such an unfortunate thing that people get in the habit of memorizing quotes and sayings and all of these things, but avoiding the work. And the funny thing is, we might want to look for a different word than work, because I don't think it's work. I think it really is, you got to dig down and be honest with yourself about certain things. And maybe that's the work part of it. But work makes it sound like this huge undertaking, this physical task. No, it's really something has to click or turn over for you, and you have to come to a realization like, hey, you know what? If I want that, there's some things I got to do. There's some uncomfortable places I gotta go and be and sit with, and until you come out on the other side and say, hey, you know what? That just really isn't good for me. I got to do something different. And let me do some nat quoting here, but sometimes you got to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah. You have
and
no, yeah.
and
We're not taught that. We
where
really are not taught that.
where did it become this thing that being good to you was bad? Like,
Oh, oh, it's,
who?
and that's why I say, the reason why I give the work, because it can feel very strenuous.
Mhm.
It is so simple, yet the simplicity we are not habituated to do.
Yeah, yeah,
We are so used to being harsh,
yeah,
making it hard, complicated, and we don't even know how to put ourselves in the equation. Like,
yeah,
you matter, you're running the show. What? No, no, no. Everything else is.
yeah,
No, actually, you're the main character in the show.
yeah.
No, no, no.
I don't have control. I'm just trying to survive. And yeah, no. Because even in that survival, there's space for you to take care of you. Like,
Yeah.
so, but yeah, it's that constant, like, and I think people on top of the being habitual about not doing it, I think we've created a space where even if you considered it, you feel dirty and nasty. Like, well, I'm going to put myself before my. Yo, taking 5 minutes to yourself, or spending an extra 10 minutes in the shower to just gather yourself in the car before you get out the car, you're dropping someone off. What? Listen to your favorite song and sing, and just do some things for yourself every so. I have a friend. If I will make sure that he listens to this. And please, if you could, after your editing, leave this part in.
Mhm.
But one day I called him and I told him, I said, you know, what have you done for yourself? You sound like, you know what I mean? And I was just like, bro, you know what? Sometimes it's as simple as closing your bathroom door, cutting your nails, and do something for yourself. Like, let the world go out and just take 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and just something it is completely for you. So the reason we laugh at nails is because, quote unquote, air quotes, typically you're not really watching men's fingernails. You know what I mean? Like, women do their fingernails and it's a thing, but normally you don't really watch. But I said you will know. Like, every time you touch something or you do something with your hands, you're going to know, hey, I took some time for me today and I did something for me. So it's a good feeling. But this constant, oh, like, oh, here, what are you talking? I can't do for take time for my house. I'm just like, yeah, every day.
Yeah.
I can't be mad at you because a few years ago I was you. So, you know what I'm saying? It's not that I'm angry, but this look of the look is
Yes.
because I just don't get, you know what I mean? Like, I'm in a
Yeah.
place where I'm looking at you like, I don't understand what you're saying, because trust me, every living day, yep. And I encourage everyone in this house to do the same thing. When you get your little bit, you take your little bit. Headphones are the greatest invention in the world. Like,
Oh, yes.
and the secret is, I told them, I'm like, sometimes you see daddy with headphones on and there's nothing saying. Like, but it indicates to the world, hey, I'm kind of involved with something here that, not that I don't want you to be a part of, but this is,
You know
I,
what, though? Wait, I would ask, why can we not have people involved in our own one-on-one time with ourselves?
oh, you can if you want, if that's what you choose.
But as a parent, we can, I find, from myself, I can only speak for myself, there can be this narration that we don't want our kids to feel like they're not always open to be around us. Yet
Mhm,
in that, I think there's a teaching that, well, there are some times that you have to just be intimate with yourself and not
mhm.
to take it personally, that this is how I'm taking care of myself so I can show up better for you. And I have
Exactly.
to respect that you need the same. So when
Yep.
you don't want to hear me, you don't want to get involved, you're regulating yourself. And I
Yeah.
don't need to be involved in that. And
Yeah.
there's sometimes you don't need to be involved in certain parts that I'm going through,
Mm-hmm.
yet I'm going to make it clear that this is about me and it has nothing to do about you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's important in that aspect. For me, I always go back. I have a clear understanding of how our childhood is a blueprint and creates these patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And this harshness that you're talking about is self-care. I truly, in my own experience, really understand what trauma can do to you and how you treat yourself and how you interpret the world and your emotions and what it can do, the havoc it can do with internally and this vessel in this body. And therefore, whenever my children, it's like, oh, well, I don't want them to ever feel like there's secrets or there's this or there's that. Yet I also have to recognize there's me time and
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yet the empath in me always is like, oh my gosh, am I doing something wrong? I don't want them to feel like they're pushed out
Mm-hmm.
or whatnot. But it's like, no, this is teaching them it's okay to tell somebody else that I need my own space right now because I have to
And
work through some stuff.
just so that people are clear in what you just said, I just want to make sure to highlight the fact that you're saying both of those things can exist in the same space. Like I can have me time and let my kids know, hey, this isn't taking away from you time. This is just, I need a little bit of something that belongs over here to me. And like you said, if you're honest and people really don't give kids enough acknowledgement of how smart and strong they are.
Can you repeat that again, please?
we
Rewind, come back again.
we do not take the time and the space to understand that children are very intelligent, they're very resilient, and they understand far more than we give them granted for. So if we take the time, like anything else, when you're teaching a child to read, the first words aren't going to be, but as they go along, it becomes. So if you allow them to understand these things early, and they might not understand the higher language of what you're saying, but you can simply say, hey, like when you take a little second to do, mommy or daddy is just taking a little second to do, and they'll get it. They'll get it. And they'll appreciate, because like you said, you know what? In my case, daddy takes his time, and the daddy I get back after he takes his time is far more understanding and calm and and happy than the daddy without his son. So I'm gonna let daddy get his time in because I like this daddy when he comes out of that space. So essentially at its positive reinforcement. I'm doing something to give you a better something. So why wouldn't you be happy for me to do it? And
Yeah.
like I said, we're always trying to find ways to say our kids don't get it. They don't understand. They don't. Yeah, they do.
They way more than you,
Yeah,
these two wonderful awakeners I have, they came into this world holding on to what was authentic to them, and they were not going to swallow any of the pills. They were not going to get conditioned, and they were going to hold on to what truth is.
mm-hmm,
And it stings a lot because
mm-hmm,
kids are truth tellers. Yet, what usually happens is when they start navigating through, the adults start putting filters and telling them their
yeah,
inner knowing, you don't know what you're talking about. You
yeah,
don't, you, and it's like actually, they actually are saying it clearly. You
yeah,
just can't take it.
yeah,
You don't know how to deal with the pain. You don't
yeah,
know how to deal with the impermanence of things, the
yeah,
uncertainty. And they're like, okay, well, let me trust you and I'm going to follow you because obviously you're not going to lead me astray from this. Yeah, what happens is a lot of children from young, they disconnect from their inner compass, that vulnerability. And then you're taking a lifetime to get back into it. And then you see, wait a minute, the things that I saw when I was a kid was the right way of seeing it. Yet everybody kept telling me it was wrong.
mm-hmm,
And more when we have the space of allowing, the whole thing with little humans is to navigate through your emotions is messy. to interpret the world, and especially the lies. It don't make, like these two that tell me this place doesn't make sense. They say one thing and they do the total opposite. Or like the simple one that they always come to is like, I really don't understand why they say kids are not to swear, yet all the adults swear. So I don't understand why they keep telling us not to do something that they do. Yet you want us to follow you. And I kind of idolize you. So what is the problem? And I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get it. It doesn't, and keep staying with that. I understand it challenges, yet my work as a parent and what I want to give them is not disconnecting them from their inner knowing. And it takes work sometimes because they challenge me and push me out of my beliefs and my conditioning. And I'm afraid of the way the world will perceive them. Yet I recognize, you know what? That's empowerment. They're going to have to navigate through this world. And if they are connected with their inner knowing, that's much more powerful than what you can get on the outside of yourself, in my perspective. Yeah, kids, I love them. I love when they start shaking it up with some of the people that are really stuck on their belief systems, and you see them like horrified, and it's like, oh, you're still in that kind of prison, eh? Oh, okay. But I'm the defender of the little humans. And I like I said, I interviewed your son, Matthew Michael. Thank you. Thank you for honoring him. Thank you for the journey that you guys have been going through. I'm excited for this generation. I'm so exhilarated that they're taking on the torch in such a different way, that they are standing in truth and saying no more. We're not swallowing this kind of tradition that, well, we just do it and don't question it. It's like, no more. We're not. And it brings hope for me. It really does. Those of us that have been doing the work and breaking those kind of generational patterns that go on, that it's showing the fruitions. And it's like, okay, but it's scary. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Oh yeah.
I'm like, it's scary. Yet it's like, okay, remember, you see, because I've had such a colorful, very colorful life. In the sense that, the world would be horrified on some of the choices or experiences that I have made. Yet what it has given me is resilience and trust that if I went through all that I went through and I'm here right now,
exactly,
they'll be okay. And they will have to navigate whatever they have to. Does it mean I don't go neurotic sometimes? Of course I do. Of course I do. Does the fear overwhelm me at times? Of course. I think the most difficult and challenging thing if I were to give any parent any words of wisdom, it's recognizing what people don't tell you is that you need to witness your children experience pain.
Well, I hope everyone is understanding enough to know that that's not a ha-ha laugh that I'm laughing. Like, yeah, that statement there, I think at some point in time, facetiously, that we should create a thing that when your child turns, like, let's say 12, 13, somebody steps in and says, I want to give you this little plaque to put somewhere that you're going to see every day, that prepares you for the fact that if you can't come to terms with that, you're going to see a lot of problems. Like you are definitely going to see a lot of problems, because, I've had the discussion once, I've had it 1,000 times, because people naturally move towards, oh, you're just going to let your kid blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, no. But for those of us who have lived colorful pasts, no matter how bland or vibrant they may be, we have to understand that we're considering ourselves good parents, or we're trying to strive to be good parents. And we have to accept that a portion of that goodness comes from learning by way of or via these bad things, these horrible experiences, these painful situations. So again, I'm not letting my kid walk off a cliff, rob a bank. There's some things in life. It comes back to some basic understandings. We could tell a child as much times as we want, don't touch the stove, it's hot. Don't touch the stove. It's hot. It's hot. Don't touch the stove. It's hot. That kid is going to touch the stove. Like it, even if by some miracle you get through their whole childhood without them ever touching the stove, at the first moment that they're a teenager or an adult and there's a stove and it's empty, they're going to put their finger because they have to know. And I say it figuratively. I'm not saying every child's going to stick their finger in a fire to see that it's hot. I'm saying if you keep protecting and protect, at some point when they're free of protection, you're going to stick their finger to see what hot means. Why are you telling me? And you have to be able to stomach the fact that you got to see. Because if you're not watching, the little hill might turn into a cliff, or you see what I'm saying? So you have to still be present. You have to be there, and they have to know if this shit goes. Oh my God, can we swear on your podcast?
Oh yes.
Okay.
I have it that where we can do explicit. Yeah. And I the ones that have colorful, I put a warning at the beginning because yeah. Warning. Yeah. No, but this is the honest conversations.
If shit goes sideways, they have to know you're there. They have to feel your presence and understand I can make a mistake, and my person, my people, my foundation is still there and present. You're in twofold. You're giving them the ability to make a mistake comfortably and understand the mistake and learn from it. But you're also giving them a sense of strength to say, well, even if I do something wrong or bad, they're not going to abandon me. They're not cutting bait and running. They're still so it's doubly, as much as it hurts you're giving such a beautiful gift by allowing them to stumble and learn and become their own person, because some of the greatest things in the world happen when somebody made a mistake, when somebody turned left when the sign said turn right, when so who are we to take away that ability from them, that adventure in them, that curiosity, that and again, pain is part of learning and growing and all these things. So nobody's trying to tell anyone it's, oh, you should be happy your kids. No, of course not. Like, it's gonna hurt. Of course it's gonna, we're not sadistic, crazy people. What we're saying is, hey, some of the you went through, your kid's gonna have to go through too. If you want, you're a beautiful person because of that craziness. Mm-hmm. So obviously the bright neon colored color of the path you're going to protect your kid from, of course, that's without a doubt. Mm-hmm. But there's some stuff they gotta go through, like they're
gonna go through. And your analogy about the hot stove, I'm going to bring an experience. It just came up today, and we talk about it often. It came up in my Facebook memory. I believe Aiden was 5, and he saw a pencil sharpener. He saw what it does with the pencil. And Aiden had the idea, well, let me put my finger in there and sharpen my finger. And then him saying, I guess this wasn't a good idea. Yet having to hold it, not yell at him, freak out, do all that. And it's like, yeah, okay, you had to figure it out on your own. Your curiosity is trying to understand certain things and understand its own boundaries. For me, what I know to be true is that pain is a teacher. Yet we're not taught that. We're taught to run from it, not lean into it. We're taught to evade it at any means necessary. And nowhere is it said that it is a teacher. It refines the tools within yourself. Somebody could keep telling you about something, yet until you experience it directly, you don't have those tools.
Mm-hmm.
You just have some borrowed ideology of somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the experience. Yet to have to navigate these little things, it's like, it's warrior work.
Mm-hmm.
The parenting role isn't uh, for me about, having this esteemed, acclaimed child. And what it's like, how can I empower you to have the ability to make the choices you need to make for yourself, and that you continuously show up and you have accountability to be responsible.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the most challenging thing when we're bombarded with so many things that you're doing wrong or what could go wrong and this and that. And it's like, no, actually, I'm not going to be in a sense of fixing it or saving or enabling or protecting in the sense where I'm creating a prison. Let me be there for when you have your curiosity, you have a space where you'll get the proper information. You have a
Mm-hmm.
soft spot to land and be vulnerable in your truth and in your curiosity, even though it will ignite me, especially when, these kids since they were 8 have been asking me sex comments and very raw and unabashedly. Just, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, navigate through this again. Age appropriate, yet they're just coming straight with facts. And it's like, okay, it's okay, Nat. It's just information. It's just information that they need. And if they understand it without the fairy tales, without
Mm-hmm.
the trying to scorn the body, trying to scorn the energy of sex,
Mm-hmm.
you have to empower them that they understand it exactly for what it is, and
Mm-hmm.
not these ways that you don't want them because you're afraid this or that or whatnot. And some people have called me radical in my parenting. And I'm like, well, I just see it as give the children the truth and give
Mm-hmm.
them the information they need to be able to navigate. Because I guess, true, because of my own experience of almost dying 7 years ago, I got the hammer on the nail that you have no control and have no idea if you'll always be here.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, do your part right now and give them the information they need to navigate in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And for some, it might be, well, that's too, and it's like, well, you know what? This is what our experience is. Cause I really understand, like, I have no control of when I'm going to die or when I'm
Yeah.
going to transition. I have none. I don't know. And I could do all the right things and something go wrong and I could do all the wrong things. Like I look at my father and my mother and I'm like, these guys, my mother's going to be in her 70 this year. My father's in his 70s. And the way the world would narrate, those two shouldn't be here still. Yet they
Mm-hmm.
are still here. And I'm like, okay, so, we have some kind of prescriptions of how to, yet it's like, you know what? You really don't know. And
Mm-hmm.
that has changed the way I've parented and shown up with these children. And it can be kind of lonely sometimes because not everybody sees it in the way that I see it. Yet
Mm-hmm.
I have to just stand in my truth and stand in what we're doing and what we're creating.
Mm-hmm.
And it's parenting, warrior work. That's all I can
Mm-hmm.
say is warrior work.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot.
And there's no quote unquote grading system and all these things. And what makes it difficult, especially when you have unique situations, is that what we're it's like the mass. We're looking at the masses and saying, okay, this is what I'm going towards or I'm aiming for. I'm trying to achieve normal and be at the top of normal. And I'm going after. I see it every day. I read it every day. I hear it every day. I'm told it every. So I'm aiming for this. The difficulty and the problem with that is a lot of what's presented to us isn't genuine.
Mm.
So we have people saying to us, this is what you should be doing. This is how your kids should be acting. This is what they should be saying. But in fact, the picture that they're portraying, you peel off the layers of the onion, you turn a corner, and that's not their reality. So you're telling me to achieve something that you're not even coming close to, but in your mind, that's what it should be. So you're telling me that's what it should be. And the person beside you is telling me that's what it should be. So I'm starting to take for granted I'm doing something wrong. Like I should be doing what you're telling me, when in fact you're not even doing it. Like you're in the same struggle. You're fighting the same fights. So again, I mean, there's some, let's call them moral lines that we want to say are just universal. We don't want our kids to steal. We don't want them to, okay. And when we get past that, my thing has become, I want them to survive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want a cookie cutter. I can't expect that what this child does, that this child will do. And that I want my children to be compassionate, to be empathetic. I want them to be sympathetic. I want them to want the world to be a better place. I want these things from them. I don't expect that they're going to sit in one place and cross their legs and say, yes, ma'am. And that these are nice. I mean, when, you know what I mean? It's always nice to hear, oh, your kids are so this and your kids are so that. And I'm just like, those are all like puppy dog tricks. You know, it's like sit and roll over. And when I hear, you know, your kid didn't see that I was watching them, but somebody fell over and they stopped what they were doing and they helped somebody up. That when I hear, you know, I was going into a store and your son held the door open for me just because, not that I had, or there was something in my hand, or he was just like, you know, I saw you coming up and I opened the door for you. And like those things make me happy when kids are curious about things and come and ask questions about nature and those things. That's when the trophy shelf gets polished off, and I'm just like, yes, well now, okay. But again, and I don't want anyone to take away and say, well, it's a bad thing to have your kids, you know. But again, I don't get caught up in appreciating, like I said, and it sounds so harsh, but like I said, it's me and you talking, so this is
I
how
don't,
we talk. You know
yeah,
what
I
I'm
don't,
saying?
what do you mean? What sounds harsh?
Well, I'm saying when I say it's like puppy dog tricks, I don't
It
want people
is.
to
It's
take it
behavioral
for
tactics.
it's, but
For me, I see it that way because we've been so conditioned to be watching people's behaviors and we forget to go behind that and ask why.
mhm,
Don't inconvenience anybody, make everybody feel at ease, and don't be seen and just sit there.
mhm,
And it's like, how is that living life? How is that community?
mhm,
How is that innovation?
yeah,
And I get what you're saying though, and I understand the way that the imagery and images in society,
mhm,
it's the death of a lot of people.
mhm,
The death. I understand in the Caribbean culture, it is can be very loud,
mhm,
and children have to be a certain way, and that
mhm,
can hit a lot of nerves,
mhm,
and it can get some heated discussions. And I'm
mhm,
like, okay, I'm here for it. Let's,
mhm.
because change won't happen if we're not going to get into these uncomfortable conversations.
Well, and seeing that's exactly it. That that's exactly, because again, I don't claim to be the subject matter expert on things, and where along the way, and again, look who I'm talking to. You've seen me 15 years, 20 years ago, and me now are two very different people. It was an understanding along the way of it's not a right or wrong, but you realize there's better ways to do things. There's more efficient ways to do things. There's more beneficial ways to do things. So you adapt along the way. And there's some things I hold true to my heart because I think, like I said, there's some foundational pieces that I hold true to myself.
Mhm.
But the rest, I'm like, if we can't talk about, because there's never been, that I know of, a set or a generation that looks back and says, yeah, you know what? You guys got it 100% right. So I'm going to do it exact. We all look backwards and say, you know what? You were awesome. But if you had, or if you could have, or maybe if you, or you know what I mean? So every step of the way, if we're not willing to listen and say, hey, maybe I could have done this, but there's some who hold steadfast to, this is what, and I'm just like, if we start having those conversations, most of the time the people clock out, because as soon as it gets to that sticky, uncomfortable place,
Don't touch
then
there.
don't touch it. And then it becomes a very defensive conversation, a very, you know what I mean?
Because
And
the ego's defense mechanism around the belief system is protecting it. So it's
yeah,
like they don't have the emotional intelligence to be able to disarm that and just listen. It
right.
doesn't mean because they understand they can be influenced and
Hmm.
they don't want to take the responsibility of listening. Doesn't mean you have to follow the directions.
This is what I'm saying. It definitely doesn't mean that. So, but it's like this. If I talk about it, then what you're saying is what I've been doing is wrong. And if what I've been doing is wrong, then and it's like this nasty snowball going out of control. And I'm just like, whoa, let's take a step back here. I'm not trying to convince you to do something different. What I'm saying is, you know what, in my experience, this took place, and now I realize, hey, maybe I can look at it like this. Maybe you can look at it like this. Or I urge people often to, yes, again, foundational pieces, hold on to your foundation, because I think we'd be lost as a society if we just kind of free for all and let go of all of them. There's a lot of good things to be held on to. If it's possible, when you see even the smallest kind of hesitation, the rebuttal, the pushback, or whatever, take a second to ask yourself, you know what? Why? Why are they pushing back on it? Is there something here that I could learn, that I can teach them? Maybe it's a misunderstanding of how I'm going about it or the lesson that I'm trying to get across. But if we don't take the time to even have that conversation, the truth of the matter is we're the ones losing. They're not losing, because they'll figure it out. They will surely figure it out on their own. So you got to say to yourself, what kind of person do you want to be? Not only what kind of parent, but what kind of person do you want to be? And at that point in time, it's so funny. This conversation is, but every time we talk, anyone who knows, when we talk, when you as a person start to understand you as a person, and you as a person start to understand them as a person, then the difficult work starts to become easier, and that snowball actually starts to work in your favor, because you're not fighting against what the snowball is. Now you're kind of encouraging it, saying, oh, well, if we fix this fire with this approach, then we might be able to put that one out. But also the uncomfortableness, you're putting yourself in a position. You have to understand you're going to hear some things that you just might not want to hear, or see some things you might not want to see, but it's not your world. Like it really isn't. And there's some things that just won't be pleasant, and you gotta come to terms with that uncomfortableness, and be okay. And then the rest becomes a little easier. And it's like I said, we think that it's this big heavy hand teaching them, when in fact it should be a kind of open classroom where everybody is learning something. And yeah.
Yeah. For me, what has changed dramatically is having an openness to call myself out and acknowledge when I have been wrong.
Wow. You're firing some big shots there, Nat.
And as a parent, because we're kind of conditioned that we are the almighty and don't show any weakness, because then you got to be all, and it's like, actually, no, because then I'm disempowering them and I'm not showing them the real way of change.
Yep.
Because you could be doing something and think you're doing the right thing and have no idea that you're harming other people. And you're not
Yep.
doing it intentionally. You
Nope.
just don't have the awareness and the ability to open yourself up to see, are there any flaws in this? And once I did that, it's work. Like, don't think it, all the time. Yet I also gave a space for my children to be able to call me out and say,
Right.
that's wrong.
Yep.
And be able to challenge authority in a messy way so that when they grow older, they can have the ability to navigate through that energy and that fear of facing authority and doing it in a respectful, proper way. You know, a lot of times it may look like I have some real rude kids, and be able to remember that the parent and child, they're both on the same side.
Yep.
Yet sometimes it can feel like we're attacking each other.
Yep.
We're fighting for who has the better knowledge or who knows right. And it's like there's a bit of everybody's right. It's difficult to do that as a parent. I just did that, especially with my oldest. I took back the things that I did wrong and acknowledged, and I really took back my own garbage and apologized.
Yeah.
The liberation you give another person to validate them, and there wasn't something wrong with me, like it was actually you, and it's like, yeah, it was me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how much healing that is for people.
Yeah.
You know, like I've said to some people, this cancel culture, this is the most horrible thing we can do, because who's going to acknowledge that they're doing anything wrong?
Yeah.
I don't have a space to even say anything because you're going to crucify me and you're going to other me and I'll be outside the tribe.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to go underground and, you know, mutate in a different way. And we need to be able to have the spaces where people can acknowledge that they did wrong and not have everybody berate them, judge them, yell at them, crucify them. I understand that my experience as being an investigator and having to talk with an array of people with criminal convictions gives me a different experience. When I had to sit in front of somebody that was not just charged, but convicted of child pornography and listen to their story, when I've been a victim of child exploitation when I was a child, that was my nemesis. Yet if I don't listen to your story, then I'm just going to keep swallowing the poison.
Yeah.
So I have to hold the space that of acknowledging like what you did was vile and wrong. That's our moral compass. You aren't to do this.
Yeah.
Yet I have to be able to have understanding to be able to listen so that we can start changing the narration.
Yeah.
And we can hold a space for people to start discovering what's going on inside them. Because when you hold it with silence and you really deeply listen, the person speaking starts to hear what they're saying. And it starts to make sense in a different way. And sometimes it doesn't. Are we even allowing people to speak their story? Or are we just stuck on the behavior and the action and we're like, that's it, judge and jury, done. But what does that serve? Okay, you got your self-righteousness, you got your conviction, you feel vindicted and justice is served. Yet what is real justice if you're still harboring the hate?
Right.
And this is work. Like this is the warrior work that I speak of. And some people have to navigate this through their whole lifetime. It's a journey of a virtue that they have to experience. I just see more and more where if we don't allow the spaces for people to start acknowledging where possibly I'm getting this wrong, they won't know how to ask for help. They won't know how to be able to change. And when you tell people, well, you should have known better, your age dictates. Whoa. When did age have anything to do with experience? Like if somebody had a childhood that changed their whole perception of how they see the world, and now they're 60 and they've never been able to talk about this or anything like that, and you're going to be like, oh, well, too bad. You should know better. You're 60. You should. And it's like, that's not doing nothing. That is a disservice of being able to create the healing. And I know I'll get pushed back by a lot of people and be like, that's too bad. They should know. And it's like, that narrative isn't helping us.
No.
For me, anyways, from what I see, it doesn't mean that you don't hold people accountable.
It just, all it is it's like, again, quotes and cliche saying, age is just a number. It does not dictate your experience. And you cannot put that on somebody on either side of it. You can't disregard someone young from having the experience, and you can't expect because of someone's age that they have had it. And it's a dangerous situation when you do, because then some nasty assumptions get made, and then next thing you know, it just goes off track real quick.
Real
I
quick.
quickly you were saying it, and I was like, I remember one of the times I was sick. A friend of mine from work came to the hospital to visit me. He brought it, I want to say, a box of stuff. Like he was very uncomfortable with visiting me in the hospital, and I didn't understand for the life of me why. Like he looked like, it wasn't that he was afraid to be there or that he was scared or that, you know what I mean? It just looked like he was so out of his element, and it was just like, here's a box of stuff, and there's crosswords, and there's candy, and they're like here, just take this stuff and get better, kind of. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whoa, come and sit down. You know what I mean? Because at that point, I have no clue if I'm getting out or if I'm going to get better. Or like this is at the early stages of what the hell is going on.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm watching. I'm just like, yo, fam, I'm yo, whoa, let's take a step back. What's going on here? And so at this time, he's, I'd say, well into his 30s. We'll say that. So he's not old, but he's old enough. And
Yeah.
and I'm like, take a breath. Let's talk to me. Why are you seem jumpy, or did something happen? Is hospital's a bad place? Like where? And he's like, this is literally the first time I've been in a hospital, like for anything. I've never had to take a test. When kids in the family are born, it's just kind of like, so and so had a baby and now the baby's at home, and no one in his immediate family has died during his lifetime. The hospital is just this foreign place to him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's complete. And I'm just like, oh, man, you literally, like, you just don't know what to say or what to, because you've never been here. In his own way, he's kind of like asking me, like, why are you, it's almost like I'm making fun of him. And I was like, if that's what you're getting from this, no. I'm just so fascinated because I've been here so freaking much that I told him, I'm like, I swear to you, I walked through the door and there's cleaning staff saying hello to me. Like, that's how much I've been here. So I am the exact flip opposite of you. I've been here so much that I almost feel more at home here than I do outside, because I'm here. Like you saying, again, if someone walked in the door before us having that and just watched him, they'd just be like, why are you acting like that? Why are you treating him like that? Without taking the time to say, well, you've never experienced it. You're completely foreign to what you're supposed to say or do, even if there is a what you're, but there's no comfort, there's no nothing, because this is a blank slate. You don't know if you're supposed to say hello, if you're supposed to cry, if you're supposed to, like, there's absolutely no point of reference for you being in this situation. And you're 30 something years old, where by the time I was 12, 13, 14, I had been in and out 4 or 5 times. Like, I'd been there to visit cousins, and this is not foreign territory to me. If we take that to life, we say to ourselves, just because someone looks like they should have been there and done it doesn't necessarily mean that they've been there and done it. Or they may have been there and done it in the wrong frame of mind, so they didn't get anything from the experience. And they're still learning and navigating that space. And if you come along and turn it into this nasty, disgusting, ugly experience, then you're defeating it, because I'm assuming you want them to be more prepared or more aware or more whatever it is. But now you've created, like you said, it's this cancel cutoff. You don't fit into the mold, so I'm gonna disown you, and you're not allowed to be around here. And so someone who may have been able to help you has now been kicked out of that space, and they'll never, because now you've put fear into the equation as well. Like, I don't want to go there because I'm afraid I'm going to feel out of place. I'm going to feel not wanted. I'm going to feel like I'm hurting somebody else. I'm going to feel like, without encouraging them to say, hey, you know what, it might be unfamiliar to you, but sit down, take a break, ask questions, feel okay about not feeling okay, and we're gonna get through this. And I want to say that I think sometimes a portion of it is those of us who've been sick, seriously ill, that portion of us, some of us see the world in a different way. I want to say some of us with colorful pasts see the world in a different way. I want to say that I think some of us take it, and like I said, I've crossed the border on these situations more than a few times, but we can take it and be angry. We can take it and rebel against the world. We can take it and paint ugly, nasty pictures of life, or we can take it and become stronger and try to do better, and maybe not get it right along the way, but learn along the way so that we can teach our children to get a little closer to the right and to the righteous. At the end of the day, I think we have to have an understanding that the anger and the vileness and the spitefulness, it doesn't help anybody. And most importantly, it doesn't help ourselves in trying to achieve whatever it is we're trying to achieve. I'm often told that it's unnatural for me to be this calm about scenarios that I'm going through. And I'm like, maybe unnatural to you. It feels perfectly natural to me.
I think it's also too, though, not to negate what anger is, because a lot of people have to go through that process to get to the peace and the calm. And, once you understand what anger is, it's deep sadness and fear at the root of it. Yet a lot of people push away the sadness and push away the fear. Yet when you can acknowledge it, then you're able to have a calmness to you because you get it, you see it, you can acknowledge it, you can befriend it. Those that are in anger and don't understand the energy, it's recognizing you're not able to show up with yourself when these big sensations, these big emotions are coming in. And when pain is at your door, you push it away because you feel it's an enemy. And that resistance creates such a very volatile energy. Because for me, it's like the projection of the hot potato. So the anger, if you cannot sit with it to get down to the core that you're sad or in fear, then you're projecting that energy outwardly. You want it to go away. The one thing about the hot potato, it comes back eventually, and times it'll be even worse than what it was. To circle back to that story that you said about your friend and feeling so awkward with not even being able to say, you know what, this is my first time being in a hospital. Not being able to even come in the room and just expose, you know what, I am nervous. I am uncomfortable because this is the first time I've been in a hospital. What a difference the energy would be in a room. But we don't even know how to acknowledge our quote unquote kind of ignorance of not having experienced something, or even just acknowledge our vulnerability of how we're feeling. We mask it up with all this uncomfortable energy and don't even, like, we talk about, oh, well, people, be truthful, be honest. Why is it that we push away people's feelings and tell them like you cannot have emotions? No, actually, it would give us context. Like once he told you that, it opened up a whole different perspective of, oh my gosh, like I'm seeing the world one way, yet you don't see it my way. And what a bang to your head, because it's like, we'll get this perception that the way we see the world, everybody else sees it this way. We experience something, everybody else experienced it. And it's like, no, not at all. Not at all. Thank you for making it to the end. I appreciate you and your time. If you found any value in this conversation, I ask you to help us grow by subscribing to the Lift Oneself podcast and more, sharing it out to others. The more that we have conversation and dialogue that are honest and open, that is when we can remove the stigmas around mental health. Until next time, remember, be kind and gentle with yourself. You matter.